Yo, what's up, guys? I'm just going to do an early prediction video here, and what that is basically I'm going to give kind of smaller breakdowns. I'm not going to go as in depth, and these picks are subject to change because there's a couple fights that haven't looked into that much, so I could potentially switch my pick. There's a couple fights that I'm on the fence on, but going to give you guys my initial leans and kind of what I think about the fight. So let's start from the main event, though. Roman Dolidze versus Nasruddin Imavov. Kind of interesting main event, right? We got kind of a battle of finesse versus power and explosiveness, with Imavov being the more technical finesse fighter and Dolidze being very explosive, dangerous, can finish you. So this one to me is kind of difficult. I feel like Imavov is the more technical guy. I think that if he doesn't get pushed up against the cage like we saw against Phil Hawes, doesn't get into a brawl, he'll probably be able to beat Dolidze. It's just Dolidze has that finishing ability. So I feel like that's a close fight. Pretty 50-50 fight, and I think the money line is pretty close too. So ultimately, I do agree with the money line in that fight, putting Dolidze as a slight underdog and Imavov as a slight favorite. I just think Imavov probably has a little bit more skills overall. If Dolidze doesn't get the finish, he'll probably win that one. And then Moicano versus Dober, man, this is another one with close odds and another fight that can go either way, because I feel like Moicano is the significantly more skillful fighter. I think he has more ways to win. He's longer, and if he can get a takedown and get into a dominant position, he has a great chance to get the finish. But he has had chin issues, man. He's had issues with getting hit clean and getting knocked out. At 155, he hasn't been knocked out yet, or I think Fiziev knocked him out, though, actually, yeah. So he's only been knocked out once against a really good striker, but that's always something that could come back to bite him. So I think that's kind of why the line is close. But personally, I'm leaning towards Moicano. I feel like he's going to be able to get it to the ground and probably get that submission. Dober, super vet with great knockout power that can go out there and kill anyone with one strike. But I think that if Moicano fights smart, he'll probably get the dub there. And Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. This is a fight that was supposed to go down a while back, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember why that fight didn't end up happening, but I think it's kind of a dogger past the line. Minus 250 for Randy Brown, I think, is ridiculous. Anytime you see him at that kind of price, I'm not a big Randy Brown guy, personally. I don't like his style. I think he gets really lazy. And he makes fights close. And with Salikov, he's just an aging striker where I think he'll probably just get outpointed by the guy with the more range and speed at this point in their careers. But if Salikov can get a couple times where he hurts Randy Brown, he maybe could steal a decision or win by knockout. But this fight I'm a lot more confident in with Natalia Silva versus Vivi Araujo. Seems like UFC just kind of making Vivi the girl that they give to prospects coming up, like she's the new prospect tester, new top 10 gatekeeper. And Araujo's getting up there in age now. She's a lot older. I think Natalia Silva has shown the goods in every one of her fights. She hasn't really shown many weaknesses, so maybe Araujo could show some resistance in this one, but I think Silva's going to look good and dominate again. I feel like she's one of the best prospects in that division. So Silva, for me, is the pick in that matchup there. And then Khizriev versus Muradov. This is another one where I see a lot of people very confident on Khizriev, and I have to look into it a little bit more, but it's because Muradov, you look at his career, the issues he's had is with guys that take him down. So obviously Khizriev can go in there and maybe take him down at will and finish him on the ground, but Muradov did good against Kyle Barallo, and he has that experience, so I think he's a live underdog, but I would go with the wrestling of Khizriev. I just think he'll probably be able to maul Muradov there. But Urbina versus Charles Radke, another interesting fight. I mean, I think Urbina kind of has him beat everywhere. He's better at range. He has the big height advantage. And then I think in the clinch, he's better also. I think he's better on top, on the ground. It's just Radke has that check hook, man, that check left hook, and Urbina sometimes comes in with his hands a little bit low. We saw against Tresean Gore, he got knocked out with the check hook. So just has to respect Radke and respect his boxing, because Radke does have fast hands, but I think Urbina probably should roll in that fight and should be the pretty big favorite like he is. McCann versus Belbita in a rematch here. I mean, to me, don't got much to say about this fight. Molly McCann got ran through her last one. Belbita lost to Carolina Kowalkiewicz. McCann dropping down to 115. I guess that's an interesting wrinkle. I don't. We'll see how she looks there. But I'm going to go with McCann again just because I think that on the feet it's pretty competitive. But McCann showed she can get the takedowns in the last fight against Belbita, and I don't really think Belbita has evolved that much. And maybe 115 will be a good move for McCann. But personally, this is another one I got to kind of think about. I could end up switching my pick because it's a close one on that one. And Azat Maxim versus Charles Johnson. This is one I got to go watch Maxim's last fight again because I can't exactly remember. I'm going to watch it later today. How that fight went with Tyson Name. I remember a lot of people thinking that was a big robbery, though, where he won via split. But, man, me and Charles Johnson, we have beef right now. Or not really, but Charles Johnson is a great guy, like, on Twitter and all that, so I like him. But, man, like, bro, like, I've been betting him in these certain spots, and I feel like he's the better fighter, like his last fight. And he just starts so slow, man. He just gives the fight away. It's like, brother, you got to start a little bit faster, dog. You got to be, starting a little bit earlier and showing all your skills, and you can get these wins in the UFC. So he's a frustrating guy, but to me at this point, he's almost unbettable, unpickable, just because of the performance he's been putting in. He's been allowing himself to lose these fights that he shouldn't be losing. So this is one I don't really have a pick on right now, but probably going to be going with Maxim there. And then Greenbow versus Pete Rodriguez. I just feel like Themba, he has so much more experience, and he's someone that Pete Rodriguez has never seen before. Like, I don't think Pete Rodriguez has ever seen as good of a kicker as Themba. I don't think he's ever seen as good of a wrestler as Themba. So I just think Themba Gorimbo is probably going to run away with this one and win this fight. But Pete Rodriguez has that equalizer with the one-punch knockout. So Gorimbo has to respect him early. He can't run into anything crazy. And we really haven't seen Pete Rodriguez's grappling. So maybe he could surprise us with some grappling skills. But I think Greenbow's going to probably use his chain wrestling to go in there and pick up the win. And then Blake Broder versus Ji Young Lee. This is a fight that I think is like 50-50, like the line says. I'm going to go with Builder in this one. I think that Ji Young Lee, he feasted on a lot of low-level guys before getting into the UFC. And then his UFC debut, he fought Yi Zhao. I thought he lost that fight, but they gave him the win. And he's a very dynamic guy where he has that ability to knock you out early with rear crosses, check hooks. He's very fast, decent kicker as well. And then he has good submissions off his back. But if he doesn't knock you out with that one punch and you get inside on him, you can land on him. And if you implement wrestling and takedowns or clinch control, you could definitely control him. And I don't think he's going to be submitting that many of these UFC level guys off of his back or in scrambles on the ground. So I don't think Lee has like a dynamic submission game like that, even though he has quite a few armbar wins. Builder is durable. I mean, he's been dropped and hurt and came back. He's never been knocked out. His last fight was his first loss, so we're going to kind of have to see how he bounced back from that. But I think Builder, if he can extend this fight outside the first, he has a great chance to win, and I think he can get the back. I think he could mix in some control time and get the win. So give me Builder there. And then Luana Carolina versus Stoliarenko. I mean, pretty basic fight to break down, right? If Stoliarenko can get it to the ground, she can hit that armbar, potentially go home early. I mean, all of her wins essentially are first-round armbars. And if Carolina can keep it standing, keep it at distance, she'll probably be able to piece up Stoliarenko. No interest in this fight, really, but probably will pick Carolina. And then Landon Quinones versus Manuel or Marco Medeiros, excuse me. Close fight here. I feel like Medeiros has more ways to win. He can mix in the takedowns. He's a little bit more dynamic of an athlete. But Quinones, if he can keep that effective pressure on him and stuff a few takedowns, I think he has the better boxing and maybe could get Medeiros out of there or wear on him. But I'm going to say that Medeiros probably goes in there and wins. And then Thomas Peterson versus Jamal Pogues, the first fight of the night. Really low-level heavyweight fight. And this one I've been going back and forth on. Like, initially I did pick Peterson on Patreon, and I said he was going to get the win. But I'm going to go to Jamal Pogues now. I'm going to switch my pick. It's just like both these guys are really low level. It's just initially I was picking Peterson more on the fact that I think he's going to bring that grind mindset and maybe train a little bit harder for the fight. But skills-wise, I think Pogues has him beat on the feet. Pogues has him beat in terms of the jiu-jitsu. And the wrestling will probably be pretty close. Cardio probably goes to Peterson, but he doesn't have long fights or really like experience for me to really say that confidently. So I'm going to actually go with Pogues. But obviously you want to see how in shape Pogues is and everything like that. And we'll see. But yeah, I think that's kind of a fight that's going to go over. And I think Pogues will get the win. So give me Jamal Pogues. So there you have it, guys. That's a kind of early breakdown and predictions, quick predictions. Gonna do a full card breakdown predictions video either tomorrow or Wednesday like I usually do. Gonna put out more videos during the week. So definitely stay plugged into the channel. Hit that like button. Really appreciate everyone that supports. I would appreciate as many likes as possible on this video. And then patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru, guys. I mean, in January, we won all 3 weeks that we had bets. We won, I believe, over 7 units on the month. So definitely killing it in January and doing well so far. So go over to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. Sign up to a tier. Make yourself some money and get some more awesome content. So really appreciate everyone that supports the channel, through Patreon, that supports the channel through watching these videos. Gonna keep putting out the content, and hopefully you guys keep watching it and enjoying it. So talk to you guys later.